here at New York Comic Con 2015 with Erica Henderson, the unbeatable artist of the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. How are you doing, Miss Henderson?
Doing all right.
How's New York Comic Con treating you so far?
It's been good. It's Thursday, so it's not at saturation levels yet. Yeah.
So, first question, as much as I want to start talking about Squirrel Girl right away, I have to ask you, how does it feel to draw one of the most iconic characters in all of comics now that you're working on Jughead?
It's great. When I first got the email, I actually had to reread it a few times. It didn't process that that's what they were asking me to do. I was like, what is this? What is this even? Like, it's not even a joke. I literally did not understand what it was saying. But yeah, it's great. I love Jughead, my favorite character growing up, so this is really cool.
Do you feel any sort of pressure to live up to the legacy that's been created for Jughead and Archie in general?
I think the nice thing right now is we get to sort of rebuild, and we get to use what came before, but we get to do our own thing, and that's really fun because we don't have to worry too much about it being consistent with the older stuff, but we get to use all the older stuff and have fun with it.
Cool. Yeah, I noticed you were having a little bit of fun with Jughead in a Howard the Duck shirt, I believe.
Actually, that was the lineup we used beforehand. And it was Archie in a duck character that Archie owns.
Oh, okay.
It was oh god, I forget his name. It's like something or other the cockeyed duck. It's like Super Duck, and he's cockeyed. Yeah, I don't remember, because it was like something I was looking at in like an old Archie collection. I was like, what the hell is this? And I just put it on the shirt.
I thought you were just messing with Chip.
No, I didn't realize it was someone online. I posted online. They're like, oh, it's a Howard thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, Chip is a duck comic.
Speaking of Chip, how is it like working with Chip as opposed to Ryan North, who you work on Squirrel Girl with?
I think Chip in his private life is not nearly as insane as Chip in his public life. So it's not bad. I like Chip a lot. Chip's a sweetheart. And I almost feel like working with them is pretty similar. They both have, and I'm working on Chip on a very G-rated thing, so it's going to be different than I think working with Chip on something else. So I think they're both both of them are really great writers. I love working with Chip. Yeah, I don't think between him and Ryan is that different actually.
So now moving on to your book with Ryan, The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl has exploded within the Marvel fandom. You know, in some past interviews that I've done, artists have said that it's pretty surreal to see cosplayers of their character. So how did you feel when you saw your first Squirrel Girl cosplay?
It was awesome. I think it's sort of the first sign that you know you're doing it right. It was when you see someone dressed as the character. And we see a lot of Squirrel Girl cosplayers, so that's really cool.
So what were some things that you were definitely looking to change in Squirrel Girl's appearance, from the classic to what she is now?
So when I first got emailed, they were just doing a pitch, an internal pitch. And so they asked if I can draw a picture of Squirrel Girl, and they would pitch it along with the other stuff. And the very first thing I asked was, can I redesign her costume? This is I needed work, and suddenly Marvel's emailing me, and now I'm making demands and being I want to change the costume. That was the number one thing really for me, was doing that. I thought that was a fun character, so I just sort of drew her the way I thought she would look, and just drew a whole bunch of little costumes, and we figured it out from there.
Cool. Now that she's joining the new Avengers in All New, All Different Marvel, will she be getting another costume update, or still the same old Squirrel Girl?
She is wearing basically the same costume in All New Avengers, or rather New Avengers. New Avengers, All New Marvel, that's it. But we're putting her in a new costume in the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl book, partly because Ryan and I have been wanting to do costume changes for a while. And I was like, well, if we're doing a new #1, let's just put her in a new costume. Because I feel most of the other books had a major change happen with the character. Peter Parker is cool and rich now and probably cries less. And we didn't want to do anything like that. We were given the option not to. The same with Howard and Silk and the other newer books. Because we just had major changes. And so I was our change is she has a new costume. That's what we're going to do. That's our change. So we're doing that a little more.
So now Squirrel Girl has a rich history with another team, the Great Lakes Avengers, and I know that you kind of put some Easter eggs in like a cover and here and there. But have you and Ryan at all talked about team members coming to visit Squirrel Girl, or?
We've talked about it a little bit. I think our main issue with this, like, she left the Great Lakes Avengers. Was she still the Avengers then? They kept changing their name.
They kept changing their name.
But anyway, Great Lakes Avengers, because they were riding on her coattails and she wanted them to rise to the occasion. So I feel like seeing them again and knowing they haven't really done anything, or at least nothing that we've seen, it's sort of like an awkward high school reunion where like one person got out of town, of like this podunk little town, and like made it big, and like they're still stuck in like Hicksville and like nothing's happened in their lives. I feel like it'd be depressing. I think that's like where we sort of come with that. We want to do it. We haven't gotten past that idea of like, that's gonna be sad.
Okay. I just think it would be a little funny for Big Bertha to come in.
I would love to see Bertha, actually. Yeah,
man.
that's the one I want to see the most.
Okay, cool. How about any other characters from other places in the Marvel Universe that you'd love to put in Squirrel Girl?
Hercules, She-Hulk. Those are like my main ones.
How close are you to making that happen?
I don't think we're at all close to making it happen. Yeah. That's like my wish list of things that I would like to draw, but it's not necessarily like what would work story-wise, or I don't know if there's like a conflict anywhere. And you know, with like Secret Wars ending, it's yeah, there's like stuff changing. It's just easier to not think about that right now.
Yeah. So I feel like this question gets asked a lot, but you know, Squirrel Girl is one of those new books that has a female lead, but you know, it's not because she's a girl that she's awesome. It's because she's just awesome because she's awesome, you know. Yeah. But how, from your point of view as a female in the industry, you know, what do you think about this whole new diversity emergence in all corners of comics?
I think it's great because there's always been women reading comics. It just seems weird that there hasn't been any comics from the bigger companies that focus on that at all. Or if they are, they're sort of like weirdly pandering and you know it. So it's nice to just have like stuff like Ms. Marvel and this and like Silk and Spider-Gwen, where just people like making stories they want to make with female characters and trying to hit other markets. And I don't know, it just makes sense in like a marketing sense to like want to have more people want to buy your books.
I mean, I feel the same way with Totally Awesome Hulk. People are kind of freaking out that Amadeus Cho is Hulk now. They're like, why is Hulk an Asian dude? It's like, why not?
Yeah, like, what, Asian dudes aren't scientists or like good at math? Like, is that what you're trying to like, is that your like, it's the stereotype. Come on, it's like, it's not even that weird in like a stereotypical setting to have that be a thing.
In fact, this is a long time coming. I don't know why anyone didn't think of this before, but yay, Greg Pak.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, you know, going into your background a little bit, you know, what inspired you to get into comics?
So I read a lot of comics as a kid. Like, my dad had a lot of comics around, and like a lot of different kinds of comics. But when I went to school, I actually studied film and animation, but I didn't like it. And I realized what I liked was visual storytelling. And with like film and animation, you're basically stuck with like 1,000 other people working on something, whereas this, you can tell a story, and it's like you and like maybe 2 other people doing something, and it's like you have like more control over the idea than if there are like 5 writers and like 10 designers and like 20 set designers and like 3 casting people. So.
All right, so I guess my last question, you know, it's kind of a big one. And I know this might get into some spoiler territory, but I just gotta know, are you and Ryan talking about offing any more squirrels? Because Squirrel Girl doesn't need that in their life.
I think that that's never come up.
Thank God.
But I still think that, like, while that story is really sad, the fact that Monkey Joe, especially since he was accepted as a member of the Great Lakes Avengers, being like now the only superhero who's never come back, is like, makes him much more powerful, and I kind of love it. Like, he's the one hero. Even Ted Kord and Mr. Miracle, or not Mr. Miracle, Captain Marvel. Yeah. Sorry. the dude Captain Marvel who died of cancer. He came back. So
Monkey Joe, standing strong.
Yeah, he's the only one that has that weight to his death still.
Monkey Joe, you will not be forgotten.